The Curious Life of Harry Houdini, the man who escaped everything. Welcome back to Sleepy History, where you can drift into a snooze with your favorite history tales. My name is Rocco, and I will be your guide through the life chronicles and stranger, more eerie facts of one of the most famous magicians of all times. So settle in, get comfortable, and let's drift back to the late 19th century. Harry Houdini wasn't actually born Harry Houdini. His real name was Eric Weiss. He entered the world in 1874 in Budapest, in what is now Hungary. When he was still a child, his family emigrated to the United States in search of a better life. They settled in Wisconsin before eventually moving to New York City. Life was not easy. His family struggled financially, and young Eric worked a variety of jobs to help support them. He sold newspapers, shined shoes, and worked odd jobs whenever he could. But amid those ordinary struggles, he discovered something extraordinary: magic. As a teenager, Eric became fascinated by stage performers and illusionists. He spent countless hours reading books about tricks, sleight of hand, and famous magicians. One magician in particular captured his imagination: a French performer named Jean-Eugène Robert Houdin. Eric admired him so much that he adopted a version of his name. Adding an extra I at the end, he became Houdini, a name that would soon become legendary. At first, success did not come easily. Houdini spent years performing in small theaters, museums, circuses, and traveling shows. Sometimes he performed for audiences so small that he barely earned enough money to eat. But he had something many performers lacked: persistence, and perhaps a touch of obsession. He constantly studied locks. He learned how handcuffs worked. He examined jail cells. He practiced opening restraints until his fingers could move almost automatically. While others practiced card tricks, Houdini practiced escaping, over and over again, for hours, for years. One curious fact about Houdini is that he carried a collection of lockpicks almost everywhere he went. Some were hidden in his clothing, others were concealed in unexpected places. His audience often believed he possessed supernatural powers, but Houdini insisted he relied on skill, preparation, and endless practice. The truth, in many ways, was more impressive than magic. His breakthrough came when he began challenging local police departments. Whenever he arrived in a new city, he would invite officers to handcuff him using their strongest restraints. Then, sometimes behind a curtain and sometimes in full view, he would escape. Newspapers loved it, crowds loved it, and before long, Houdini became internationally famous. As his fame grew, so did the scale of his stunts. He escaped from chains. He escaped from prison cells. He escaped from sealed packing crates. And eventually, he escaped from devices specifically designed to prevent escape. One of his most famous challenges involved being locked inside a giant milk can filled with water. Imagine climbing into a narrow metal container. Imagine the lid being locked shut. And then imagine holding your breath while thousands of people waited in suspense. It was terrifying, and audiences could not get enough. But perhaps his most famous stunt involved the Chinese water torture cell. This became one of Houdini's signature performances. He would be suspended upside down, his ankles locked in place, then lowered headfirst into a glass tank filled with water. The audience would wait. Seconds felt like minutes. Minutes felt like hours. Then suddenly, Houdini would emerge alive. The crowd erupted every time. Interestingly, even today, historians debate exactly how some of his methods worked. Many secrets were never fully revealed. Another fascinating detail about Houdini is that he was one of the first true global celebrities, long before social media, long before television, even before radio became widespread. People all over Europe and North America knew his name. He understood publicity better than almost anyone. If he escaped from a jail in London, newspapers reported it. If he performed in Germany, reporters followed him. He knew that every stunt was also a story. and every story attracted more attention. Houdini's interests extended far beyond escapes. He became fascinated with aviation. In fact, he was among the earliest people to fly an airplane in Australia. He also loved technology and collected unusual inventions. He was curious about almost everything, which may explain why he constantly reinvented himself. Whenever audiences became familiar with one act, he developed another. Yet one of the most surprising chapters of his life involved ghosts, or rather, his determination to expose fraud. During the early 20th century, spiritualism became extremely popular. Many people claimed they could communicate with the dead. Séances attracted huge audiences. Mediums promised messages from lost loved ones. After the death of his beloved mother, Houdini desperately wanted to believe these claims. But the more he investigated, the more skeptical he became. Using his expertise as a magician, he recognized many of the techniques: hidden devices, secret signals, misdirection, simple tricks disguised as supernatural events. Houdini launched what was essentially a personal campaign against fake mediums. He attended séances in disguise, he exposed fraudulent performers, he testified before authorities, and he publicly challenged people who claimed to possess genuine supernatural abilities. This earned him both admirers and enemies. Some saw him as a defender of truth, others felt he was attacking their beliefs. Regardless, it became one of the defining missions of his later life. Here's a curious fact that many people don't know. Houdini and the famous creator of Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle, were once friends. However, their friendship eventually collapsed. Doyle strongly believed in spiritualism. Houdini believed most mediums were frauds. Neither man could convince the other. Their disagreement grew until their friendship faded entirely. It's a reminder that even brilliant people can view the same evidence in completely different ways. Despite his seemingly superhuman abilities, Houdini was still human. His performances were physically demanding. Escapes required strength, endurance, flexibility, and incredible pain tolerance. He often suffered injuries, broken bones, exhaustion, and countless bruises. Yet he continued performing, again and again. His death in 1926 remains surrounded by stories and speculation. One commonly repeated account involves a student asking whether Houdini could withstand powerful punches to the stomach. Before Houdini had fully prepared himself, the student reportedly struck him several times. Soon afterward, Houdini developed severe abdominal pain. He was later diagnosed with a ruptured appendix. Despite his condition, he continued performing for a time before finally seeking treatment. He died on October 31st, Halloween, at the age of 52. Even after his death, Houdini's legend only grew. Books were written about him, movies were made, museums displayed his equipment, and nearly a century later, his name remains synonymous with escape. Interestingly, his surname has even become a verb. People still say someone pulled a Houdini when they disappear unexpectedly. Few entertainers leave behind that kind of cultural footprint. So what made Houdini special? It wasn't merely that he escaped chains or handcuffs. Many performers learned similar skills. What made Houdini unforgettable was his understanding of human curiosity. He knew people love mysteries. They love asking questions. How did he do it? Was it skill? Was it illusion? Was it something else entirely? And by never fully answering those questions, he ensured that people would keep talking about him long after he was gone. As we come to the end of tonight's story, imagine the final scene. A theater grows quiet. A curtain hangs motionless. A locked box sits center stage, and somewhere inside, Harry Houdini is already searching for the way out. Now that we are done with the history of his life, let's dive deeper into some weirder, creepier facts, shall we? Let's explore the stranger side of the world's most famous escape artist. The rumors, the obsessions, the strange friendships, the secret investigations, and a promise he made to his wife that some people still believe remains unfulfilled to this day. So settle in, get comfortable, and let's enter the peculiar world of Harry Houdini. Most people know Houdini escaped from handcuffs. Fewer know that he was obsessed with death. Not in a morbid way, not exactly, but death fascinated him. The boundary between life and whatever might come afterward became one of his greatest curiosities, and perhaps his greatest obsession. One strange fact about Houdini is that he spent years attending séances in disguise. Imagine that. The most famous magician in the world quietly sitting in a dark room pretending to be an ordinary guest, listening, watching, waiting, not to communicate with spirits, but to catch frauds. He often wore disguises, false beards, different hats, different clothing. Mediums who thought they were fooling grieving families occasionally discovered that Harry Houdini himself was sitting in the audience, watching every move. The more seances he attended, the stranger things became. Many mediums claimed they could summon dead relatives. Others claimed tables moved on their own. Some claimed ghosts wrote messages. Yet Houdini recognized many of these techniques, because magicians had been using similar methods for decades. Hidden wires, secret compartments, invisible threads, misdirection. What makes this especially eerie is that Houdini desperately wanted them to be real. His mother had died in 1913. He adored her. Friends described him as devastated. For years afterward, he reportedly visited her grave frequently. Some accounts claim he sat there alone for long periods, just thinking, just remembering, perhaps hoping. And that hope led him into one of the strangest chapters of his life. He became friends with the creator of Sherlock Holmes, Arthur Conan Doyle. The two men admired each other enormously, but they couldn't have disagreed more. Doyle believed spirits genuinely communicated with the living. Houdini believed most mediums were frauds. Their friendship eventually collapsed over this disagreement. Imagine losing one of your closest friends because one of you believed ghosts were real and the other didn't. But here is where things become truly strange. Despite spending years exposing mediums, Houdini made a secret pact with his wife. If there truly was life after death, he would try to contact her. His wife was named Bess Houdini. The two were remarkably devoted to each other. Unlike many celebrities of the era, their marriage appears to have been genuinely affectionate. They traveled together constantly, performed together, worked together, and trusted each other deeply. Before his death, they reportedly agreed upon a secret code, a code that only the two of them would know. If Houdini ever found a way to communicate from beyond the grave, he would use it. After he died, Bess spent years attempting to receive that message. Years. Think about that. For a decade, she participated in annual seances, hoping her husband would keep his promise. Then came Halloween. 10 years after Houdini's death, Bess finally ended the ritual. According to legend, she extinguished a candle she had kept burning in his memory. Then she reportedly said, 10 years is long enough to wait for any man. It's one of the most haunting lines associated with Houdini. Not frightening, just deeply human. Another little-known fact is that Houdini maintained files on hundreds of people, thousands of pages, notes, letters, newspaper clippings, investigations. He was essentially conducting private intelligence operations. In fact, some historians have suggested Houdini occasionally behaved more like a detective than a magician. When he suspected fraud, he investigated relentlessly. He interviewed witnesses, collected evidence, compared stories, cross-referenced claims. His archives became enormous. Some researchers estimate he accumulated one of the largest collections related to spiritualism and psychic phenomena in the world. Then there are the rumors about espionage. And yes, things get even stranger. For decades, speculation has circulated that Houdini may have occasionally provided information to intelligence services. Nothing has ever been conclusively proven, but historians have pointed out something curious. Houdini traveled constantly, crossed borders frequently, met politicians, police chiefs, military officers, journalists, and wealthy elites. In an era before modern intelligence gathering, someone like Houdini had access to remarkable information. Whether he ever shared it officially remains uncertain, but the rumors persist. Here's another strange detail. Houdini was terrified of being buried alive, which sounds surprising. After all, he spent much of his career locked inside boxes, buried under dirt, submerged underwater, sealed in containers. Yet many people during the late 19th century feared premature burial. Medicine wasn't always reliable. Cases occasionally emerged of people mistakenly declared dead. The fear became widespread, and Houdini shared it. His fascination with locks extended into everyday life. Visitors sometimes reported that he couldn't resist examining locks wherever he went. Hotels, theaters, homes, police stations. If there was a lock nearby, Houdini wanted to understand how it worked. Many people collect stamps, some collect coins. Houdini collected secrets hidden inside mechanisms. Then there was his unusual relationship with publicity. Today we think of viral marketing as something modern. Houdini practically invented it. Before arriving in a city, he sometimes arranged public challenges. Local police would arrest him. Newspapers would photograph him. Crowds gathered. Everyone talked about it. The stunt itself became news. Long before influencers existed, Houdini understood attention better than almost anyone. Perhaps the creepiest detail of all involves his final resting place. Visitors still leave cards, locks, handcuffs, flowers, notes. Some leave keys, others leave messages asking for luck, or guidance, or signs. Nearly a century later, people continue treating his grave as if it belongs not merely to a performer, but to a legend. And perhaps that's because Houdini occupied a strange space between worlds. He spent his life proving that impossible things could be explained. Yet he surrounded himself with mysteries. He exposed supernatural claims, yet searched endlessly for answers about death. He revealed secrets, yet carried countless secrets of his own. So tonight, as you drift towards sleep, consider this. The world's greatest escape artist spent his life unlocking every door he could find, every prison, every chain, every lock, every mystery, except one, the mystery waiting beyond the final curtain. And that was the one escape Harry Houdini never managed to explain. Good night.